Hello students, this is our last session on the inheritance chapter, and today we are going to cover up the final keyword and the abstract class. So these are the two important topics that I'm going to cover it up in today's session. Okay, so there is a keyword supported in Java and the name of the keyword is final, right? So final is a keyword in Java which serves several purposes, right? So if you can associate the final keyword to the variable, and you can associate the final keyword to the method also. You can associate the final keyword to the class. Whenever you associate the final keyword to each of them, it tries to restrict the user in several different ways. So what are the various restriction that is made whenever you try to append or whenever you try to add a modifier final keyword to a variable, to a method and to a class. So we'll see one after another, right? So firstly we see what happens when you try to add a final keyword to a variable. Okay, so if you add if you try to make any variable as a final keyword, you cannot update, you cannot change the value of the final variable. It will become constant, right? Okay, so suppose let us consider the example. There is a class called bike9 wherein you have got the variable speed limit which is of type integer and that has been declared as final. So final is access modifier. Okay, it's a modifier, we call it as a modifier. So final int speed limit equals to 90. So whenever you declare any variable as a final, you cannot later on update the value of the speed limit. Okay, say for example here you have written void run one of the method and you try to update it. Okay, and whenever you try to invoke this method by creating the object, it will generate an error. Okay, so moral of the statement is that whenever you try to associate any variable with the final keyword, you can update the value of the variable with another value. Okay, so that's the restriction that is imposed on the variable. Okay, next is when what happens next is what happens if you try to associate final keyword with the method. Okay, so if you try to associate the final keyword with the method, then you cannot override it. Okay, you cannot override it. Okay, so method declared as final cannot be overridden. For example, suppose there is a class A and there is a method name is meth, meth, return type is void, and you have specified that this method is a final method and there are some definition of this method which I'm not worried about it. So and there is another class B that extends A, means this method is also inherited, these features or the properties also inherited in B. Now you try to override it. Okay, because you know the concept of the method overridden or method overloading. Okay? Whatever it is, you try to update the definition. You are not satisfied with this definition, you want to update it. So whenever you try to do so, you cannot. Okay, it will generate a compile time error. So this one is also a compile time error, and this one is also a compile time error because method is declared as final, it cannot be overridden in B. If you attempt to do so, compile time error will be generated. Generally the function call in the Java is resolved during the late binding, but whenever you associate any method with the final keyword, it will try to accomplish this resolve this function call in the early time itself. That's why you'll see it's a compile timer. Generally invocation of method is resolved during the runtime. Okay, not the compile time. So but in this case it's declared as a final, so early binding. So in the early binding itself you'll be able to know that okay, this method can be overridden, okay, or not. So now the last one is when you try to associate any class, when you try to associate any class as a final, then you cannot inherit. Okay, then you cannot inherit. So any class precede with the final keyword, you cannot inherit later. Okay, for example, there is a class A which has been declared final, and if you want to try to inherit the class A by specifying the statement class B extends A, then you cannot do so because A has been declared as final. Declaring a class as final implicitly declares all of its methods as a final. So not you cannot use the method also, nothing can be used. Okay. So it is illegal for a B to inherit A since A is declared as a final. Okay, so just to summarize you, if you declare any variable as a final keyword, if you declare any variable as a final variable, then you can update the value. Similarly, if you associate a final keyword with method, you cannot override it. And if you try to associate the final keyword with the class, you cannot inherit it. Okay, so these are the various different examples of the of uses of final keyword that restricts the user for various different purposes, right? Next, we'll see the abstract class. This is my another topic in this session. So as the name suggests, abstract is just the abstract only. Okay, it hides the implementation details or the definitions. So it only shows the functionality. It hides the implementation details. Implementation details means definition of the method is hidden or not written. So a class that is declared with the abstract keyword, a class that is declared with the abstract keyword. For example, class abstract class A means this class A at that particular class A is a abstract keyword. Okay? So if I want to say that if you declare any class as an abstract abstract class A, okay, then it becomes A class A becomes a abstract class. Okay, so in an abstract class you can have a abstract method or you can have a non-abstract method. Abstract method means, like for example, you have got void and print, and inside which you have not written anything. With void print, you have only written this one. So the definition is missing. This is an example of abstract method. Okay, and non-abstract method means, for example, void. Okay, void disp, and then there is some implementation details. Right, there is some implementation details. So this is an example. This is an example of non-abstract method. So a class can have an abstract method or non-abstract method. Non-abstract method means method with a body, and abstract method means method without a body, right? So if there is a class with more than one abstract method, then that class has to be declared as a abstract class. Okay. So there are two ways to achieve abstraction in Java. So this topic is mainly concerned with the one of the feature of the object-oriented programming, abstraction. Okay, abstraction is one of the feature of OOP, object-oriented programming. So how can you achieve abstraction in Java? Okay, OOP feature in Java, one of the OOP feature in Java. So with the help of the abstract class, you can achieve abstraction in Java. So abstraction in Java can be achieved using two ways. One is the abstract class and one is the interface. Interface, we have a separate chapter on it. Right now we only talk about the abstract class. So abstract class needs to be extended. Abstract class needs to be extended means it has to be, somebody has to derive it. Okay, somebody has to derive it. Suppose there is an abstract class A and it has to be derived by some other class. Maybe class B extends A. You have to write it definitely. Okay, most importantly, you have to write it because the reason is because there may be one or more method inside the abstract class which has not been defined. Okay, which has not been defined, and the object of such kind of class cannot be created as well because it is incomplete. Okay. So an abstract class needs to be extended and its method to be implemented. So whenever say for example, this is an abstract class which contains one non-abstract method and one abstract method. So for this kind of scenario, this class A has to be extended or has to be inherited. Okay, say for example, you have inherit class B. Okay, so in class B extends A. You might write down this, right? And inside which you can have your own definition. So inside is it has to be actually now here in class B it may implement print or it may not. If you implement P, so you can have something similar this kind of statement. void, okay, print, print, and then some definition, okay, some definition. But it does, if it doesn't implement it, if it doesn't implement, furthermore b has to be extended. So until as everything is implemented, you cannot create the object of that corresponding class. Okay, so class C extends extends B. So finally, say for example, print has been implemented over here. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so an abstract class needs to be extended and its method to be implemented. Abstract method, a method that is declared as abstract and doesn't have implementation, is known as abstract. Okay, for example, here I have not written anything. Okay, I should have written the abstract keyword. Okay, abstract. A method whose implementation details are missing. A method whose implementation details are missing has to be declared as abstract method. Okay, assuming that later in the uh, inheriting class it may get implemented. Okay, so this is an example. There is a class called bike which has been declared as abstract method. Since the class has been declared as abstract method, inside the class we might have one or more method which has been declared as abstract. Okay, in this example, then you have not considered the non-abstract method. Okay, there is another class Honda 4 extends class B. So this class bike. Okay, so this class has been extended over here. So this method, which was declared an abstract method in the class bike, which is also an abstract class, has been implemented. So run method is implemented in the derived class. You can see. So now whenever you try to create the object, you create the object of Honda, not bike. You cannot create a bike object because it's incomplete. Fine. Next, some of the rules. Okay. Yeah, some of the rules that you should be aware of it whenever you work with the abstract class. So to achieve the abstraction in Java. So any class that contains one or more abstract method, any class that contains one or more abstract method must also be declared as abstract. So a class which contains one or more abstract method, such class has to be declared as abstract class. An abstract class cannot be directly instantiated. Means you cannot create the object of the abstract class because it is incomplete. It's not fully defined. However, instead of creating the object, you can create the reference variable. So creating the reference variable and creating the object has two different things, right? So you create the object with the help of the new operator, and you create the object reference variable without the help of the new operator. And when you try to use a new operator, it tries to basically allocate the memory. So here, in this case, in this at this point, so at this point, want to infer you that whenever there is a abstract class, you cannot create the object with the help of the new operator. However, you can create the reference variable of the object. Okay, you can create the reference variable of the abstract class. I'll show you the example later on. Okay. So next is it. You cannot declare the abstract constructor and abstract static method. Simple one. Okay. Any subclass of the abstract class must be either implemented all of the abstract method in the superclass or be itself. So either it has to be implemented in the same class or in the deriving class. It has to be implemented, right? Okay, so there is a very simple example. There is a class, abstract class. One method is there which has not been implemented, so you have declared it as an abstract. Okay, so there is one non-abstract example. So class B extends class A. So wherein you have implemented the abstract method of class A here, and you have created the object. So that's all. Okay. So next, no object of class A are declared in the program. You can see you have not created the object of class A anywhere in the program because it's not allowed, and it's incomplete because the definition for call me is not there. Class abstract classes can be used to create the object reference. Yeah, I'll talk about it. Okay, and the last one is the class A implements the concrete method of call me to. It's perfectly acceptable. No worries. Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about the reference variable of the abstract class. Okay, so see in this example, there is a class called figure which has been declared as abstract because the implementation of this method abstract double area is missing. Okay, it will have some value. Okay? No, that's not the worry. So only important thing is, yeah, there is one method which is of type abstract, and there is another class that derives the figure, extends figure. Okay, so here this double area has been implemented. Similarly, there is a triangle class which again extends figure, kind of hierarchical inheritance. Double area again, which is the abstract method of the figure class, has been again been implemented. You can see over here. So that's how you try to get the information. Okay. Okay. Whenever you want to invoke this area of rectangle class and area of a triangle class, you can obviously create the object of corresponding class. But here the object is something. In my point is something different. How can I create the reference variable? So can I do this? Can I create the reference variable of the figure? Okay, figure space figure reference, so reference variable. So you all know that this figure reference variable can even take up or get initialized with the object of this class and object of this. We have seen this during the runtime polymorphism. So so there is no problem whenever we create the reference variable because we have not used the new keyword. So however you can see over here there this red color with comment line, so it cannot be done because you have used the new keyword. So this is not acceptable. However, this is acceptable, no problem. Here you are not creating the object. Here you are creating the reference variable inside which you are initializing the object, because when you try to do this, it can access this. It can see figure reference dot area can access this method from this reference variable. Okay, it's totally acceptable. Okay, similarly, if you want to try to access this area method of triangle with the help of the figure reference variable, then initialize the object and then invoke it. Initialize the object of triangle class inside the reference variable and then use the reference variable to invoke it. Okay, so kind of for a runtime polymorphism, not kind of, it's exactly a runtime polymorphism. Okay, okay, that's all for today. I hope I had made it clear. If there's any questions, you can please post or you can bring forward your points in our next immediate live session. Thank you so much.